And welcome to Season 2 of the Vox Talks, and I am absolutely delighted to welcome a true superstar to today's talk. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ben Hoblyn.
Hello everyone.
This is very cool, Ben. I absolutely remember Ben for when he used to play in our Derby ensembles, and he's a sensational trumpet player who's gone on to lead a stellar career as a trumpet musician, playing all the way around the world. Everywhere from BBC Two to Glastonbury to cruise ships. You know, the guy is an absolute legend. And perhaps more importantly, he's one of the nicest guys that I've ever had come through the band. So I'm really pleased that he can be here today. Where are you dialing in from today, Ben?
I'm actually back in my hometown in Derby today. I've been here for about 6 months now.
Is that down to the dreaded lockdown?
That is due to COVID. Completely, yeah. I was actually on a ship when everything kicked off, so I wasn't even anywhere nearby and had to be flown home. We were repatriated.
No way. So, like, you were literally on the cruise ship when it got shut down?
Yeah, well, we'd actually just left South Africa, and we were, like, sailing back up to India, and we were due to stop in, like, Mauritius and Madagascar, and those ports were completely cancelled. COVID came in. All the countries like closed off all their borders. We couldn't go to India, Sri Lanka, Madagascar. Then we just got rid of all the guests, and then I was stuck on board for about 6 weeks.
What a mad ride, man. That's incredible. And now you just sat at home in your mum and dad's, you know, chilling, doing a bit of golf, maybe. Who knows?
Finally living the dream. Well, trying to fit the time. Yeah, you know, been working on golf. Luckily, I've got a pro who can teach me some tricks.
Yeah, and actually there's a bit of a spoiler alert there, because we're going to be talking to Ben's little brother at one point through this series, so keep an eye out for Joe, because he is a ridiculously good golf player. Right, on to the business of the day. So if you would, Ben, could you tell us a little bit about what you do, who you are, and you know, your journey to this point today?
Sure, I'll try and do my best. You can prompt me if I go off the rails, but I went to Ecclesbourne School, which is in Duffield, just north of Derby. Went there and studied music in A-level, and that was really what I was most keen on doing. So after that, I then went and wanted to try and learn to play music better. I played the trumpet, wanted to try and improve at that. So I auditioned for probably 5 or 6 colleges straight out of school. Didn't get in anywhere, failed. And then I was like, I'll take a gap year, try again. So I took a gap year and I taught music for a year in Derbyshire music schools, that kind of thing. And then auditioned again, didn't get in anywhere again. Apart from, I think I got a few reserve places, and I got a place at Leeds College to do jazz. All the other ones I applied for classical. So I didn't get in a second time. Then I thought, okay, I'll just go to university. So then I went to Sheffield Uni and studied music there. Did a BMUS, was there for 3 years, which was great fun. And then after that, still wanted to try and play, even though the course wasn't completely focused on playing. So I ended up getting a job with Sheffield Theatres, playing a few months run of Oliver, which was great. That was like my first pro job outside of uni. And then joined a band, like pop band, and worked on a few things with there, played quite a few festivals, did some recording, that kind of thing. And then that band broke up, and then that's when I started on ships, which was actually probably a dream I was thinking about from when I was about 14 or 15 years old. I always thought, I want to play on cruise ships. So I managed to do that by the time I was like 23 or 24, and I've been doing that since for like the last 5 years. Been on 3 different companies now: P&O Cruises, Royal Caribbean, Azamara. Done loads of world cruises. So seeing so many new countries, probably 50 countries on these ships. So overall, that's been an awesome experience. And that's where I was when COVID kicked in, and that's, I guess, brought us up to now.
That's just amazing. I love the fact that, the perseverance part of it comes through really strongly from what you say. And, actually the desire to travel, to play, and music being the universal language, it gives you that route to go and do some of those things that you want to do. When did you actually start learning the trumpet? I mean, because I know that you played music, not just the trumpet, but you were great at all sorts of music. Bass guitar, who knows? All sorts of random things. You're great at it, and I seem to remember that your whole family are musical, and that you were doing it from when? How old were you when you started?
I was, but just a disclaimer for everyone listening: I'm not as good at everything else that John is saying. He's bigging me up too much here. But I started playing maybe when I was 8 years old. We were all strongly encouraged, if not forced, by our parents, particularly Mum, who was a music teacher. We've got to play an instrument and we've got to do a sport. They were the two things we had to both do. So we all had to pick one. So I was playing from 8 years old. And I don't think I started in Hot House, which was called Emijo at the time, until maybe 14 or 15 years old. Can't remember. But I do actually remember coming along to a session once. I didn't even have a trumpet. I think I played cornet at that time. Yeah. And I was quite young, maybe like 12 or 13 years old. Really young, didn't really know anything. And I was so intimidated because we got in the room, there's like 40 musicians. Everyone's incredible. And I think the first tune we played was Admiral's Horn. I was just sat on like fourth trumpet and I could not read well at all. I just didn't even know how to play. In the meantime, you had the guys at the other end of the section actually smashing out these solos, and I was just so overwhelmed. It was incredible. And then I think I came back 2 years later, was when I then restarted in the Emijo 2 as it was there.
Yeah. I mean, there's a good times and good experiences, really. I mean, I think we've all been there, where you go into a room where you don't know what's going to be waiting for you, and like music and like learning music gives you those skills to just be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more durable. You know, you're quite brave as a person. You know, I'm thinking about the young kids today. You know, it's been this way ever since I can remember, that you go somewhere, you don't know what's going to be through the door. They could be amazing, they could be just like you, but you know, the fact that you've got the courage to go through and give it a go is something that comes directly from music. And I love the fact that you said you were made to do music and sport, because you know, we really believe it's super important to have a balanced curriculum. Like, music's not the most important thing in the world by any way, you know, like law, maths, all of that's way more important. But you know, sport is really important too, and we want kids to be super healthy and super happy when they're doing their work, really. So, you know, you're talking about Admiral's Horn, and I'm remembering that because that's a Maynard Ferguson tune, and you know, he's just like a legend to me. I remember seeing him at Ronnie Scott's, and it was just one of those light bulb moments. Ba-ching! Are there any particular inspirational things that you've seen which made you want to go, I just want to do this music?
I guess there's two things I can think of right now, having not prepared. I'll probably look back later and regret this. But one of the things that actually made me want to play and keep playing was Emijo. So joining Emijo as it was, seeing all the other players who were the same age as me or even a little bit older, but how much better they were, like the class was just much higher. That made me want to improve. Cool. Oh, this is what a trumpet can sound like. This is what a band can sound like. I hadn't really heard that before. So that's probably one of the main things, like so inspirational, seeing other people your similar age but playing much better than you. That kind of brings you on, doesn't it?
Oh.
But the other thing, I think we were like 16 or 17, but when we did that tour to Toronto, this is one of the main things I remember, like an incredible section sound. And we sat in and they were doing a masterclass. I think it was like the Airman of Note horn section with Brian McDonald. I can't really remember. I didn't know much at the time. But I remember sitting there and learning so much about music, but also that section playing was incredible. And I can't remember what they played, but it was absolutely mind-blowing. And I still remember that as being the best thing I've ever heard trumpets do. Until this day, even though I can't remember what it was, I just have this vision in my mind of that was incredible.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, there's something special about an ensemble doing what they do, all in the same synergy and all at the same moment with this energy. It's so much better than just being on your own. I love it when they really get cracking. Which is, you know, and I think we had some great sections over the time. You know, a bit of back row politics. There was always a number of characters. There was the loud, vulgar one. There was the horrendous, jokey one. There was the one who was super quiet but would go up and sing like a star. You know, have you got any particular memories or you know, something that you can share that were, you know, from your time?
Just trying to think of something now.
It's something that we can share. You know, I mean, there's obviously there's awards shed. So
I'm not going to put any labels on any of those characteristics you just said, just in case.
Yeah.
But the whole section was obviously great fun to play in, the whole trumpet section, even though it was intimidating at times. But like we always had great fun on the side of it. I remember even like with Mikey and Andy Allen, those guys I used to hang out a lot with, and I remember that, particularly on gigs, obviously, but this is another time in Canada, actually. I remember we arrived, and obviously we were super jet-lagged, so this was like the middle of the night. I think I was sharing a room with Mikey or Rob Smith, can't remember exactly, but we were all awake at like 3 a.m. So I remember we were just like running around the hotel because we were obviously super excited to be in a new country. We were wide awake and we were running up and down, I think, all the halls and like going into the jacuzzi and swimming pool. I think there was a pool in the hotel.
Yeah.
And we were in there at like 4 a.m. in the morning. And I remember that was one of the best things that I can remember from probably my time. Just because like, the band gets on so well with each other. It's so much fun. Like you say, it's not all about the music. It's about getting on with people, socialising as well. Yeah. That's one of the main things that I can remember.
And I love it. And the guys that you're mentioning, Rob Smith, now a pro trumpet player, Andy Allen, now a pro composer and trumpet player. Mikey, I just remember eating loads of blue gobstopper sweets on that tour and having a permanently blue tongue. And he bought this massive Nerf gun to bring back home from Canada and trying to get it through customs with this gun in the suitcase, Nerf gun. Mad times. But, really good. And I think that's the sort of thing that we want our young people to take away is that, you're supposed to enjoy life. You're meant to enjoy the journey. And, if you've got music or sport, something that you're doing with other people, it really helps you get through to the next level. And, I think that's the most important thing. So, now that you're a pro musician and now that you're working for a living, doing what you want to do, what sort of lessons or credo do you, let guide your decisions, your thought-making processes? What have you learned that you think, I would share that with somebody else?
I think the main thing I've learned is to never give up and never stop, and I'm actually still doing this. I still don't feel like my playing is at a level where I'd like it to be. I'm still trying to push on. I feel like loads of things are against that. And you've just got to work through it and fight through it. Like I said at the start, I auditioned for all these colleges, didn't get in twice. Yeah. And then actually I ended up on the same gig doing cruise ships with people who went to these colleges. So I've managed to find a way to push through, keep practicing, keep working, and get to the same stage as where these guys were at, and they've gone through the college route as well. So that was a huge thing for me. But the other thing also is don't be afraid of who you are and what you've got. So for a long time, I was intimidated by other people, thinking they're judging me, they're looking at you. Oh, they're thinking you can't do well or you can't do what you can do. But you have to look at it they are also going to have insecurities and also be worried about what you're thinking of them. So it's really funny how those dynamics play out. When you're younger, you actually put it all on yourself and you put so much pressure on yourself. Now I'm realizing that everyone's feeling the same. Everyone was nervous. Everyone was intimidated early on in their playing career. And that's just going to keep happening. But for now, you can only do what you do. You just do that the best that you can and see how it goes. And that's basically what I'm working through now, I guess. But I wish I could have learned that 10 years ago.
And you know what? And I think that applies to guys my age and people I know older. I might not do quite so much of the music now, and I do quite a lot of business strategy meetings, but I'll be going into a meeting with 4 other CEOs from multinational companies around the country, and you end up thinking, I shouldn't really be here. This imposter syndrome thing, it's definitely a feeling that, I think it's because we had such great parents, if I'm brutally honest. Your mum's an absolute legend, what she managed to make all of you guys do. And she's always been that sort of person who's been very strong. She's a strong figure. She's a strong character. And my mum was too. And, I think we've benefited from they beat it into us to be aware of other people. We've got to be care about our kids, care about our siblings. When we've done something wrong, we got a bit of a verbal bashing, and we're aware. But the other flip side of it was that you're always looking around now to think where should I be here? Have I done something wrong? What is everybody else thinking about me? And I think that's I think our parents did a great job. And I'm pretty sure your mum did a great job. So if you've got the chance right now to go back to you 15, 16, 14, and you could go back and you could give yourself some counsel, what would be the things that you would tell them?
Well, I guess following on from that same point, the main thing would be don't overstress and don't worry about things. There's so many things outside of your control, but there's also so much that you do control and take accountability for. So you'll have like pushbacks and failures, obviously, but they are there obviously to make you grow. You've got to overcome them, and your desire to overcome them and the discipline to do it will get you to where you want to go. And I would say to myself, don't put so much pressure on yourself and don't worry, because you will achieve what you want to achieve if you keep wanting to achieve it. Like, you'll just keep pushing forward on that. I used to put so much pressure on myself when I was younger to get somewhere by a certain age. I'd say, if I'm not, I don't know, doing a gig on a ship by the time I'm 20, then, I'm not good enough. Yeah. But obviously your goals and your dreams, that's not your self-worth. It's not the same thing. So it's just take it easy. You've got to enjoy things at a time and keep pursuing things, but small steps at a time. You'll make.
Great advice. It's so sage as well, Ben, because, I'm thinking about all those kids that are getting a lot of pressure from school to go and do law. If you don't get into law this time round, you'll never make it. If you don't get into medicine this time round, you'll never make it. And I think, life's a really long journey, and like you say, small steps. If you want to get there, you'll find a way of getting to where you're happy and the concept. But
it's not a sprint. You've got so much time to sort out and do what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely fabulous advice. I really love it. So, what does the future hold for Ben as a musician? Are you looking to go back and spend a long time on the boats, or are you going to do anything creative, any producing, writing, that sort of stuff, back into pop?
Well, this lockdown has actually been awesome for that. I've basically got myself a mini studio setup now, which actually I can show you. I bought all this equipment recently, which is sick. So now I've got actual equipment to be able to record, do sessions for other people, which is amazing. And I've started like writing some tracks, trying to write my own songs, doing a few other pop bits as well. So that's been great.
That's cool.
Trying to write horn parts for other pop songs. I would also obviously still like to carry on playing trumpet as long as I can. Might do a couple more shifts, but I'm hoping to try and, what I'd really love to do is get into playing London shows or touring shows, that kind of thing, or even playing for other pop artists. Like, I don't know, let's say Justin Timberlake and the Tennessee Kids, his trumpet player drops out. I actually had a lesson with him once, but he can't do a gig. He's like, right, we can call Ben and do that gig. That would be the ideal. Long way off, but 10 years, 15 years time, who knows? You just don't know what's going to happen.
I think that's very cool. We've got as part of season 2 of the Vox Talks, we've actually got a chat with a guy called John Woff, and John Woff is the tenor sax player for the 1975, and literally amazing guy. And he went to Leeds, but he's not doing jazz in the sense of jazz with the 1975. He does his pop, and I think that's his thing. He wants to travel, but he wants to travel with a whole variety of different things, whether it's a show or whether it's a pop artist or whether it's himself writing stuff. So, and I think when you choose a subject like music or a career like music, it gives you every opportunity to have those nuances. You don't have to stick on the same path and it's very rigid. You can play about with the edges and do a little bit more playing, a little bit more recording, a little bit of writing. You can go and do clinician work. You can do some education. It ticks a lot of boxes which other jobs perhaps don't reach. I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm just slowly building more and more skill sets, learning how to edit, produce. I'm even doing video editing and extra things that go alongside that. So there's loads of extra mini skills that you're building along the way, which is great. But just a note, actually, you just reminded me of something that I would say to anyone younger, and that I'd say to myself when I was doing music and throughout learning. Sometimes there's this kind of pretentious state where between jazz and music, jazz classical, and what is cool, what is not. Loads of people think you have to play super hard changes like giant steps and John Coltrane kind of stuff to be cool and hip. That's not the case at all. Take the ego out of it. There is good music in pop and there is cool stuff in every genre. So learning that as well is a huge... You'll be miles ahead of everyone else if you learn that early.
Yeah, I totally agree. And a band we try not to put a label on things now. So we try not to say jazz. We try not to say, you know, because people have got a preconception of what that might be. And the classical guys don't like the jazz guys, and the jazz guys don't like the pop guys, and the pop guys don't like the classical. Yeah. It's all a load of rubbish. You know, it's just great music, whether it's Mars or Nimrod, or whether it's Gordon Goodwin. It's just great music. So I think that's what we love. Man, this has been fab. Thanks very much for dialing in. If anybody wants to get in touch with Ben, you know, have a chat with you about lessons or career or work, is there some way that we can send them through to you?
For sure, yeah. Well, you've got my email, so definitely forward that on, and my number to anyone who wants it. But it's benhoblyn123@gmail.com. And if anyone wants to email, I'm happy to talk about anything like failures, sucking at music, or like if you want to do cruise ship gigs, I obviously know a lot about that. But just anything, if you want to chat, I'm happy to talk. Like, I've got so much time right now, so I'm always happy to chat about anything. In fact, I'll probably go on too long.
Mate, well, that's brilliant. Well, I'd like to say thank you to Ben for being a star of the season 2 of the Vox Talks. It's been wonderful. He is an absolute fabulously talented young musician and a great guy. So if you want to find out more, get in touch with him or let me know and I'll pass some questions on. And we hope we'll see you in the next session soon. Bye for now.